home. When I get you the source and show you...
You have the New Testament? Sure.
Well, maybe I have a help here from a good friend of mine sitting somewhere here. He will help us to find the source. I told you before we started, and I am sure you believe me, that before I say something, I check myself at least 5 times. You have to check yourself twice, but I check myself at least 5 times. So it's only a matter... Shh, no, please, concentrate on what we have here. This is the stage right here. So please, I'm repeating my question to you, because it's a matter of moments or matter of hours. If I show you that the New Testament, which you claim God gave it, and have such a geographical mistake that it's obviously impossible that God doesn't know where the New Testament, when the cave is this the end of the argument, or we're going to have to continue to prove? That's my question to you.
At first I said I wasn't going to ask you, but you make such a persuasive case for an answer. I will try to answer. Now, it's probably not going to be the type of answer you like, but I don't know if I can satisfy you on this. But the reason that we believe in something or we don't believe in something, it usually doesn't hinge on a simple little word or a simple little fact. If I find so many reasons to believe in the New Testament, if I believe in the miracles, if I believe, and I think a much more meaningful thing to pursue would be the prophecies of Jesus, about the many prophecies that show that Jesus would actually, or the Messiah would die for the sins of the people. In Isaiah 53 talks about, all we like sheep have gone astray, but God laid upon him the sins of us all. And it talks about him being a burnt offering. There are many such prophecies. In fact, in Zechariah, now this has good news and this is bad news, because in Zechariah 12:10 it talks about how God is going to pour upon Israel in the end a spirit of grace and a spirit of supplication, where they will call out to God. And it says about that they will look upon him whom they have pierced, and they will mourn for me. And at that time it goes on to say how a fountain of forgiveness and cleansing will be opened in the midst of Jerusalem for the Jewish people. And of course, you know, what this is saying is if you're really a sincere Christian, you got to love the Jewish people, because you recognize that we will all be brothers someday. Maybe right now we're divided by a lot of different issues, but if a person really loves Christ, they're going to love his people, and his people are the Jewish people. He came as a Jew. And so a Christian has to recognize that. All the apostles were Jewish. And so what I'm saying is that there are many reasons why I believe in the Christian faith. There are many prophecies I can point to that Jesus fulfilled. There are many, many miracles that he performed that are attested to not only in the New Testament, but extra-biblical sources also. There are all the wisdom I talked about. And another, I think, very, very fruitful area for us to explore is the consistency between the Old Testament and the New Testament. Because you're not going to like me for this if I say it, so brace yourself, put on your proverbial seatbelts. But I would argue, if we ever continue this again, that the New Testament is more consistent with the Tanakh than the rabbinic understanding, or as Yosef says, the Talmud. I think the Talmud has gone far astray. And I think the New Testament is much more faithful to the Old Testament revelation. So what I'm saying, I'm going to get back to your question. What I'm saying is, Yosef says, what if this one word was a problem? And I have to weigh that one word, that one problem, and it is a problem for me.
I think I gave you more than 30 different problems, not one word. I mean, I asked you about one word, but I asked you about 25 mistakes in a descent.
And I think I answered that, didn't I?
No. You said
I said they're two separate genealogies.
How can it be for one person two separate genealogies?
People have a mother and they have a father, don't they?
No, but I already answered that. I told you descendants based on the Torah, which you agree is the word of God, does not go by the mother. Well, it may suit your purpose, but it's not proper.
But this situation is unusual because here you have a genealogy from a father who is not the biological father. So to cover all bases, perhaps that is the rationale. And I don't know the rationale because the New Testament doesn't give the rationale for giving two genealogies. But perhaps that is the rationale to cover all bases. That biologically, he's a child of David, he's a descendant of David, and also through adoption, he's the son of David.
Well, adoption, you know that if I'm a Kohen, which means a high priest in the holy temple, and I adopt a son, and that's my only son, he cannot be a Kohen. And based on your argument, he is entitled to be a Kohen. But the Torah says clearly an adopted boy, it's not your original biological son. Yes, the Torah says lemishpachotav. Every time the Torah says lezera, zera means seed. It means from the seed, not from buying him in some kind of agency. Even though you love him very much, I want to ask you a question. I mean, I'm not really insulting. It's just something that just came to my mind. And this is a question that you may have to ask yourself based on what you're trying to answer. I'm just giving you an example. If I adopt a dog, is this dog will be my original son? I'm just curious. You know, people giving inheritance to dogs, and they give them $10 million. You hear this on the news all the time. Based on your argument, he's going to say that this dog is his son. He has to be a Kohen. He has to be whatever he is. If he's the mayor of New York, so this dog should have...
I would agree with you.
No, thank you very much. Now, if the Torah comes and says lezera, zera means seed. Okay, you don't believe me? Open the dictionary and check. And seed means he's a biological son. And it's obvious, and there's many sources.
Not always. Not always. Sometimes zera is used in a figurative sense.
Can you prove?
Yes.
Please. Can I ask you a question? Maybe you help me with that, because I'm not such an expert with the New Testament sources. What does it mean?
Acts. That's the book of Acts. That's New Testament. That is the book that follows the Gospel of John.
Here is your sources for the cave. Jacob, please read it loud. Here is the source. You can check it.
Jacob and our fathers went down to Egypt and died there and were carried to Shechem.
Shechem, it's Nablus.
Right.
Check. Double check me. Everybody knows where Shechem is? What is Shechem? Nablus or Hebron? Nablus. Okay, Shechem.
Okay, and buried in the grave which Abraham had purchased from the sons of Hamor in Shechem.
That's another mistake. I highlight the mistakes. First, Abraham never purchased it from the son of Hamor Shechem. Read in the Old Testament. He got it from Ephron. So that's a very serious contradiction from the... Where is the New Testament? Please bring it back. Baruch Hashem, we found the source. So we have the source. Huh? Well, I found it. I have it. I showed them. I told you it's going to take minutes. You didn't believe me.
Good. You have an advantage.
Nah, it's a home court advantage. Look at the crowd.
You got everything.
The next thing they're going to have flags here, you know. But actually, I'm willing to. I'm actually, by the way, to make it 100% fair, I'm willing to come to your home court and argue the same things with you in front of the Christian crowd.
I don't have a home court.
Well, then we will make you one. So I give you the sources. By the way,
I'll have to look.
Okay, I'll give you another thing. If we already meant. Yes, please copy everything. By the way, you see that I have a full of list of contradictions, which we didn't even discuss this, but we'll leave it for another time. Because really time is running out. I want to conclude this in the next few minutes, with your permission.
Please.
I want to tell you, in the year 160, which is about almost 1840 years ago, there was a priest, one of the head of the Christian church. His name was Titanus. I hope in English it sounds the same. I don't know how to say it in English, but you know which one I'm referring to? Titanus. Please write it down. I mean, it's a foreign word. I mean, it was copying from English. So Titanus, and he wrote in his book that there is a serious problem with the contradictions between the four parts of the New Testament: John, Mark, Matthew, and Luke. And because of that, he offered the Christian church to modify and make a book and compromise. Since we have so many different problems, we cannot answer our crowd, how is it possible there's so many mistakes in almost every chapter? Why don't we make a new version of the New Testament, and we will address all the problems and all the contradictions. Now I want to ask you, please, based on what we spoke in the last 2-3 hours, in the serious warning of the Old Testament, which they agree it's the Word of God, what is the punishment of a person that erased one letter from a divine book? No, loud. Death punishment. How is the head of the Christian church, because he's dealing with so many human error, offering to take the New Testament and modify it completely and match between the contradiction? You don't have to believe me. That's why.
Would not.
Okay. Wait.
I'm not denying that there's somebody who read it.
Okay.
Christian. You got all sorts of people.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that we would ever judge them.
That's why I'm giving you the name. All you have to do, remember, it was a year 160 to the Christian counting. And I give you his name.
Personally, I don't care about that. I don't care that there were certain heretics
one of the most
within
important
the Christian
Christians.
church, who advocated this thing or that thing.
Why that should bother you very much? That shows that the Christians are not loyal to the divine text. They do whatever they want with that, based on their needs.
You see, there are Jews who convert to Christianity too. Does that invalidate Judaism?
I want to ask you a question. Is that a proof of something? I will tell you that today there is inflation with ignorant Jews, unfortunately, that never learned Judaism because of the exile condition, because of money problems, money issues. It's very expensive to get Jewish education. Someone like you, which is educated and intelligent and has some knowledge, can take any ignorant Jew from the street and in 20 minutes make him believe anything you want, I promise you. I have news for you. In many flights that I took to places in the world, sometimes in the airport, not always, but sometimes I met priests. And he saw me with the yarmulke, and they come and they initiate conversation, and I promise you, and that's not a lie, everyone who sat with me, the maximum he sat next to me was 15 minutes. After 15 minutes he ran away that I would not see him by mistake. Why? When I started to shoot the list of the questions that I had, as a matter of fact, I'll tell you a story that just happened. About 8 years ago, it was the Sabbath, and unfortunately it was the Sabbath because at that time I used to film all the seminars that we're making. We had a seminar in New Jersey with a very important Jew from Mexico. His name is Dr. Betesh. And Dr. Betesh said, while giving an example, a comparison between Judaism to other religions, he said, everyone who wants to bring a priest or any Christian educated person to argue, I'm open to suggestion at any time. Anytime,